Welcome back to another in our series of Java lessons. What is this, 4, 5, something like that? Today's topic is going to be something that is both new and familiar to you. And the topic is called Boolean algebra, Boolean logic. It's about being able to make comparisons in Java. You know how to assign data in Java. You know how to do mathematical objects, mathematical calculations in Java, but you don't necessarily know yet how to compare things efficiently and properly. And some of this is going to be familiar because you have literally been doing comparisons in math class since grade 3. And a lot of that is going to be the same. You can still use the same symbols, greater than, less than, and they're still going to be just as confusing to you as they were before. So I hope you remember the rule about the eating of the signs. But there's going to be some new stuff and just new ways of representing stuff that you already know. And that's what today's lesson is about. And this lesson is a precursor to being able to do more useful things in Java, to be able to give it your programming more power. And by that I mean you can't learn how to make decisions and you can't learn how to do conditional repetitions until you understand how to make comparisons. And the reason I call this Boolean algebra, or a lesson on Boolean, is because any comparison that you've learned in math is an example of Boolean, even though it hasn't been called that. So, when you get something like this, or this operation, this less than, is actually going to be evaluating to either true or false. Any sort of comparison like this only has two possible values. Either 3 is less than 4 or 3 is not less than 4. Either 5 is greater than 8 or it's not. And so all of these things in math, they have to fall into either the spectrum of being true or the spectrum of being false. And in programming, that is, that binary 1 and 0 are the only real possible options inside the computer. And so this type of logic is very easy to do, but also very powerful because you're directly accessing the computer's ability to say on, off, yes, no. So there are certain mathematical operations that you need to know the Java equivalent of. And that's where this little table on the side, and this is in your lessons, and again, it's something that you really need to commit to memory and practice a little bit. But we're going to start with these operations down here. Well, actually, we're even going to go even further. We're going to look at just these ones here, because these are the ones that you're mostly familiar with. Greater than, less than. The only tricky piece here is this. When I want to compare something to say, is 3 equal to 4? I have to use these equal signs twice. And the reason for that is just to avoid ambiguity or confusion, because you know that the assignment operator, if I want to say x equals 3, you learned in a previous lesson that I use a single equal sign to do that. So how do you disambiguate wanting to assign a value versus wanting to do a comparison? Maybe what I really wanted to do here was ask, is x equal to 3? And so that's why we use these double equals. And this is one of the huge beginner programming mistakes, is that you forget that. And then when you want to do a comparison, you're going to say, is x equal to 3? Or, is y equal to 4? And instead of actually doing the comparison, it's going to be assigning the value of 3 to x. So that's the first bit of confusion when you're learning about Boolean operations, is this double equals here. The other bit of confusion is this idea of a not. And not is that way of saying if something is not equal. And not every programming language uses this same symbol. There are some that will actually use a symbol that looks like this. Those two symbols together to say x is not equal to 4. But in Java, they use a new symbol, which is that not symbol. So instead of this, what I would do is I would say x is not, oops, let's change that pen quickly. X is not equal to 4. You're gonna, so we've sort of covered this tricky part over here. You can see that greater than and less than can go together with equal, and so it's greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And you've now also learned this new symbol, not, which is just the exclamation mark. It's above the 1 on your keyboard. In addition to being able to compare numbers, is x greater than 5, is 4 greater than 2, all that sort of stuff, sometimes you want to combine your tests together. So you can see here I said, x is equal to 3 or y is equal to 4. Java is a very mathematical language, and so it's going to avoid using the words and instead choosing to use symbols. And that's in fact what it's done, and that's what this at the top is looking at. So if I want to be able to say and, I'm going to use the 2 ampersand symbols, which is above the character 7. And if I want to do or, I'm going to use these symbols, which are going to be new to many of you. They're called the pipe symbols, and they're on the right hand side of the keyboard above the slash key. So it's kind of usually above your enter key. You'll see it sitting in there. And what this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to do comparisons, so more complex comparisons, so that instead of saying or here, I can use these symbols and I can say if x equals 3 or y equals 4, then I'm going to want to go ahead and do something. So let's create some variables over here. Int, oh, I got to switch my pen over again. All right, int x equals 4, int y equals 3. And so if I wanted to look at these new operations that we've learned, I can say x is greater than y or x equals 4. And the or operator, what it means is that if any of those options, one, the other, or both, if any of them are true, the entire statement becomes true. So when you evaluate something like this, you come over here, you say, is x greater than y? It is true. Therefore, you don't even need to continue. Java will not continue with this. It will say, well, one of these is true, so therefore, this entire statement here has to be true. Let's try a different one. Let's say x is equal to 5 or y is equal to 2. So in this case, I come down here, I look at this, is x equal to 5? That's false, but I still don't know about whether the whole statement is false yet. I have to look at this side, y is equal to 2, that is also false. Since none of those happen to be true, this entire statement here is going to be false. The and on the operator, on the other hand, means that each side has to be true. If one is true and the other is false, the entire thing becomes false. Now, one bit of confusion is that many people who are new to Java will try to take some shortcuts. So they might say if x is equal to 4 or 2. And what they're trying to say here is, if x is equal to 4 or x is equal to 2. You can't take shortcuts like that, at least in this programming language. Each side of this operation has to be a complete Boolean expression that evaluates to true or false. So if the left-hand side is x equal to 4, this side over here has to be x is equal to 2. No shortcuts allowed here. Okay? So remember, and everything has to be true, or as long as one of them is true, you're good. And then the not operator also comes back here. And honestly, logic is very tricky for beginners to learn. So I kind of suggest you stay away from using not, but you can use not inside. I could, for example, say not x equals 4 or x equals 2. And as you can imagine, what the not does is it takes whatever is inside here and it's going to reverse it. If it's true inside there, it becomes false. If it's false inside there, it becomes true. And that's it. Okay? That's a lot of operations, and you need to take some time and you need to go through them. Write them down in a glossary and review them and understand a little bit about how they work. There is one question that often comes up, and in order to help with that, I'm just going to need to clear my screen. All right, so the last thing you need to kind of know about is Beneo. And this is just the fact that there's an order of operations that applies to logic, just like there's an order of operations that applies to math. So in math, you might have learned BEDMAS or PEDMAS or BEMDAS or whatever the story might be. In here, the keyword or the acronym is Beneo. And Beneo basically means bracket, not, and, or. And that is the order of operations that is going to occur. So when you have something that you need to address like this, and is going to take precedence over or. It's going to do this first, and then after it's evaluated this, it will then take the result of this. So x equals 4, no, that's not true. Y equals 2, no, that's not true, that's false. It will take this false, and it will compare it with this, which is true, and so the entire thing will become true. If I wanted to do this first, well, the only way to up this in order of precedence would be to put brackets around here. And so once I put brackets around here, you're going to see that things may change a little bit in that is y equal 2? No. Is y equal 4? Yes. So this side of it becomes true. And then now it's going to do the AND operator, and while this side is true, this side is false, and therefore the entire thing together is going to be false. Completely different answer as output, just by taking advantage of that order of operations. When in doubt, you know, if you're not sure, if you're a little weak in your logic and you know the order that you want, you can always, just like you can in math, insert brackets to help you understand what's going to happen first and how you want to string along those things. So what do you need to know from this lesson? You need to know the operators. Like I say AND, you should know right away what the operator is. I show you two pipe symbols, you should know that that's OR. Because the rest of the course and the rest of the lessons is going to depend on you being able to use those to make decisions. Only do something if x equals 4 or y equals 2. Otherwise, we're going to do something else in the program. That's sort of what we're leading up to. Now, you can do these comparisons just as normal math and variables, right? Remember that one of the data types that you guys learned about was a Boolean data type. And so I can absolutely say, you know, Boolean b equals x equals 2. And that's a little weird. But what this is doing, remember, this is the assignment operator. So this is going to check, is x equal to 2? It is. So then that is a true. And this is going to assign this Boolean the value of true. So I can do these types of logical operations just for the sake of having that information and storing in a Boolean. But most often you're going to do these in order to be able to take control of your program and make decisions, to do different types of processing depending on the variables and the input that you're getting in. All right. Hopefully that explained things a bit. Remember, as always, this is an accompaniment to a set of lessons which you should be looking at, and then some practice, some assignments that you can practice with. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave it in the video, or you can contact me, because I'm always willing to help out. Hope this was helpful, and take care.